Hi.
Hi, you all right? 1 second. I'm just gonna
Don't worry.
turn my video on.
There we go.
Hello. You all right?
How are
How you
you?
doing?
Yeah, good. Thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad at all, thanks.
That's
All
good.
good.
Thank you for taking the time to do this interview with me. I really appreciate it, firstly.
Oh, not at all. No, thanks for having me.
Okay, so I was wondering, firstly, obviously about your latest EP, Early Hours. It felt very authentic and personal to you when listening to it. So I was wondering what your songwriting process is like. Do you find yourself in a specific time frame or place where you write the most?
Um, I think with early hours, it was really important for me to put out an EP that really kind of fitted together quite well, and all the songs made sense as like a collection. So all of those songs kind of had a theme of when I started writing them, it being in the early hours, it being quite a reflective process with the writing. So especially, it all kind of stemmed from lying on the concrete, and the songs kind of fell in after that, in terms of the idea of kind of reflecting on decisions you've made and things that have happened to you. And I decided last year I really wanted to just put a collection of songs out as like together, just so people could kind of listen to it all as one. And
Yeah.
those four songs just really went together well for me, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's definitely an experience you go through listening to the four songs back to back because they all just fit together really, really well. And I really like that aspect of it. Uh,
Thank you. Yeah, no, I think as well, almost it's at the end of the last track on it, High on Our Own, it almost feels a little bit unfinished as well, which I really love, because it feels
yeah.
like you kind of want to know what happens next in the day.
Do you
Yeah, if
think,
that makes sense.
do you think with like upcoming music you might expand off of that, or do you think that'll be kind of a era by itself?
Yeah, actually, it's interesting you say that. I think with the next EP I put out or something like that, a lot of the music I'm writing at the moment, because I've got the time, has
Mm.
been in the morning, or it's been in like lunchtime and that kind of
Yeah.
thing, or just during the day. And I think, to me, I think it is so important as an artist to be authentic and just be honest about
Mhm.
how the creative process. So I feel like all the songs now that will probably make the next EP have all had a similar thing of where they're written at the same time. They're about a similar subject matter again. So
Mhm.
actually will probably end up being almost a theme of my music, I guess.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like because I think you can, even though it's touching on a similar subject, I think you can see the growth of that subject matter throughout your work. I think that's a really interesting as a listener to hear that kind of experience as you go through it. So, yeah,
Oh, amazing. I'm glad you like it.
of course. So I was wondering, you touched on it, but whilst listening to Early Hours, is there a specific message to your listeners that you think could be taken away from it?
um, I think the message that I would hope people would take from it would be that in the periods of time in your head where you feel completely on your own, is the idea that everyone's going through that kind of thing. I think every single song on there has like a theme of loneliness about it. And as a writer, what I try and do is take the negative parts of my life and really try and make the most of them, if that makes sense. Try
Mm.
and be cathartic with it and just kind of overcome it. And that's the way I overcome it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So I feel like if anyone was going to take anything from it, it was that that music might sound great on your own, listen to it through earphones, and it might touch you in a way that's, oh, I feel like that as well.
hmm,
But also, I want it to be kind of music that people would put on at a party, or people would show their friends and be like, oh, well, listen to this. And it be kind of overcoming that loneliness by sharing it and by surrounding yourself with people. I think that's what I'd want people to take from it, I guess.
yeah. No, definitely. I think because I think, like you said, the contrast between what you're talking about and that idea of loneliness compared to like all of the instruments you have on it and the beat of them all, I think like that contrast is really interesting. Because it's you could have so easily gone down the route of it being a lot more. I don't know how to describe it, but it could have been a lot more slowed down. Whereas,
I know what you mean.
yeah,
Yeah, because actually, when I first write the songs, I usually start them on piano or guitar, and until
yeah,
I really go into the studio with them, they actually probably sound a lot sadder than they do
yeah,
now when I've thrown
yeah.
loads of instruments into it. I think Running Red's the second track especially.
Yeah.
When I got to the studio, I think I just had so much coffee and I was like, right, we need bird sounds. We need to like take the microphone outdoors and record cars driving past. Like I was so into it. But yeah, I think it's kind of showing the different, almost going the other way with it and going, oh, it's quite a sad song. It's quite a sad message, but let's put loads of uplifting instruments in it to kind of pull it the other way.
Yeah, no, I really like that. I thought it's a really interesting listening experience, having the complete contrast, as I said, and I thought that was really well done.
Oh, thank you.
So for the EP, I was wondering, when you think of it, because lots of people associate different songs with colours, so is there a specific colour that you think would sum up the EP?
Ooh, what a great question. I would actually go with blue with Early Hours, and I think actually, if I remember correctly, the artwork is quite blue and it's got quite that blue kind of theme to it. And I'd say that for a few reasons. One, because I think, like I said, that the subject matter, and especially things like Lying on the Concrete and Somebody Needed, is quite blue in the way that it's not. It's kind of, it comes from a darker place originally, and also it's my favourite colour. So to me, putting out my first EP, I want it to be kind of, I don't think I even really thought about the colour too much, but I think looking back, I wanted it to be something that I really connected with.
Yeah.
And I think if I had to put a colour on it, it would definitely be blue, like a kind of, like a navy, maybe.
That's a good choice. That's a good choice. So I was wondering as well, like in regards to your songwriting, have there ever been any lyrics or any one of your songs that you put out that you almost didn't because it just felt a little bit too personal?
Yeah, there is actually, and it is on the EP, and it was quite difficult as a song to write in general. Actually, it's Lying on the Concrete, and I think for people that maybe don't know, Lying on the Concrete was kind of inspired by one of my friends that unfortunately took their own life a few years ago, and I tried to, when I was writing the song, I tried to put myself in the shoes of the thought process around that. I didn't obviously want to make the song depressing. I wanted to make it the opposite. I wanted to make it uplifting, but but one of the lyrics in it is, I pulled down the rope and I jumped through the air. It's harder to find hope when it's already there. And to me, I thought, I don't know if I can actually put that in a song, because it's obviously, it can be taken as quite a morbid thing, but I want it to be like, oh wow, if you could rewind time and kind of show how pointless that act was in the grand scheme of things, and how much I wish you'd kind of reached out, or that kind of thing. I think that was the lyric where I was like, do I just do like a cleaner version for the one I put out, or like a not cleaner, but a less, I don't know, cutting version?
No,
but I thought, you know what, it makes the story of the song is there. I don't want it to not be the song that it is now.
Yeah.
So luckily, I think people have really connected with it, which is really good, and they've taken it the way it was intended. But obviously, I didn't want it to feel like I was doing a disservice to the story, if that makes sense.
Of course. And firstly, I'm really sorry about your friend. But secondly, I think that's I think the really important message behind the song is that the whole idea of mental health in particular is something that can still have quite a big stigma around it, and the fact that like you were able to put those, like, so what so many people feel into a song that so many people then get really touched by is something that's like so magical and like a really special song to put out. So I really thought that song is going to resonate with a lot of people, and I really love it.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope the response I've had from it has been really, really great, and I hope that anyone that discovers it kind of feels the same way you do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really special song for me, so I'm really glad it's out there now as well.
Yeah, no, definitely, because it can be so hard to put such a personal part of you out into the world, but I think it definitely, it was so worth it. So
yeah.
Thank you. And then another question that I had was about, is there one song that's out there now that's written by someone else that as a songwriter you wish you'd written?
Ooh. Oh yeah, what a tough question. I mean, there's so many songs that I really wish I'd written. there was actually, I mean, I'm sorry, I've probably got loads and loads of answers to this, but there was one I actually listened to today, which is super new. Not to, well, I listened to it yesterday, but I've been listening to it all day. And it's when people can make a pop song just so emotional. And it's a song called Driver's License by, it was out on Friday by Olivia.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
Yeah, I saw your face, you already knew. And I was like, oh my God, I listened to it once and I was like, this is really good. And then listened to it again and I was like, oh my God, I want to do a cover of this. This is insane. Yeah. I think a song like that, and I think it's hard to pick individual songs, but I think that was one of the ones I was like, oh, I wish I'd thought of that.
Yeah, it's such a clever concept. Like even the bridge of it, I love the way the bridge just goes completely different. It's like such a spectacular song.
I already can see that in like the backing of adverts. I can imagine seeing it live and wanting to cry. Like it's funny how music does that, but I think that's the most recent song. I think I'd go, yeah, I wish I'd written that. Yeah. And also, it looks like it's like #1 streaming like all over the world. So definitely wish I'd written that.
Exactly. Like the fact she's 17 and she's been able to, with her debut single, go #1 across the world and it's all across TikTok and everything's insane.
I mean, I didn't even know she was 17. So wow. Very impressed.
She's really taken the world by storm.
Yeah, very impressed.
So obviously another topic I really want to touch on is The Voice and your experience on it. Obviously it was really gutting that none of the chairs turned. But was Olly Murs' tweet to you any sort of consolation for your experience?
You know what? The Voice in general was such a fun experience. And I mean, especially for a year where I couldn't play live shows, and that's where I really get my energy as a musician, is by playing live shows and connecting with audiences. And I didn't have that, and The Voice basically got in touch, and I think it's one of those shows where they really look for all these undiscovered artists, which is a really great thing actually. And it's not, to me, it's not like an X Factor, it's not like a Britain's Got Talent. They really do care about the musicians and the singers that go on there. So the experience was great, and I don't think I ever went on with the intention of thinking I was going to win. I wanted to go on. I wanted more people to hear my music. That really, bluntly, that was probably why I really, really wanted to do it. And obviously seeing Olly Murs tweet me and loads of people respond and find me through that as well was really humbling and really, really nice. I think it was, and looking back as well when I watched it, because obviously it's all cut together in certain ways and the experience itself went like that, just in literally, it was the end of the day in no time. But watching it back, I was like, actually, I think I came across well, and I think that they've made, I don't know, it just came across a lot better than I think I thought it would look. And I think I've never obviously been on TV to that many people before. I've always been used to watching maybe YouTube videos back or me just being a few people at a show. So knowing that many people kind of now heard me as a vocalist is really, really cool anyway. I don't think it really matters whether I got a turn or not. To me, that was what I went on for, and it was wonderful that so many people have managed to find my own music from it now as well.
Yeah, and the judges seem to really beat themselves up for it as well.
Oh, I love that, yeah. Because obviously I didn't see that when I was, when we were filming, obviously, because I went off, and then I think I spoke to people, I spoke to one of the producers or whatever off stage, and I didn't obviously see their reaction, so seeing that was really cool. And they did look gutted. And they should have been. So
yeah, exactly. I know I think everyone, like especially on Twitter and social media, everyone was absolutely rioting that there wasn't a turn, and like the judges really seemed to kick themselves for it. But it's amazing. It
was really humbling. It was really nice. So it was just a really, really great experience. I have no regrets about doing it, and maybe if I had got through, I wouldn't have had the same kind of connection with people afterwards. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. And I was wondering, if you were a judge yourself on The Voice, would there be like a specific type of artist that you'd be looking out for to turn your chair?
I actually, and this is going to sound a bit different from maybe the kind of artist I am, but I think, and I hope that we see it during the series anyway, but I'd really want to go the other way, and I'd want to find like a really good hip hop artist or a really good rapper or something a bit different. Because as much as I love singing, I love working with other singers, I love listening to those different voices. I think I guess it's called the voice. So I guess any kind of music that comes out of your mouth is fine, right? So I think if I heard something different or something really cutting, like a really great rapper, I think that to me, even though maybe I wouldn't be the best judge for it, I think that would, to me, excite me and want to go, actually, I want to work with that. I want to sing the chorus. I want you to write an amazing verse to it. And I don't know. That's just the first thing that came to my head. But
I really like that answer, because I feel like that there's, even though it would be a different genre, I feel like working with artists of different genres, you can add, like, you can help each other so much with your growth and experimenting and that kind of thing. And I think that'd be really interesting.
Yeah, for sure. You learn so much from people that are different to you anyway. Even when I do like writing sessions with other musicians, it's people that offer something that you don't have, or something that you haven't experienced, that kind of thing, that always teach you the most. So I agree with that. Yeah,
definitely. And you touched on it in your first answer, but obviously a big part of this year has meant that coronavirus has meant that the arts industry has suffered hugely, and we haven't been able to have tours and that kind of thing. So what was it like just being back up on stage, and like, were there 3 words you could use to describe that feeling?
3 words. I mean, I'd say I'd go with energizing, because as soon as you have a band behind you, at least for me, you immediately feel like an adrenaline rush. I always just feel that when musicians come together, it's always so great. Scary would definitely be one, because no matter what show I've played in my life, I've played hundreds of shows, but I've never not been nervous. And I always think that if one day I'm not nervous to play a show, then there's something wrong. And then 3rd, I think, would just be relieved as well, because when you haven't played shows for so long, you can't, like right now, if I played a show, like a proper show to people, I think I'd just go wrong. I wouldn't know what to say. I sound like an idiot. So it was nice just to play with a band again, just to express myself through music again in a live way. Because I do live streams and that kind of thing, but obviously you're always kind of stuck behind a camera to a certain extent. But yeah, no, I'd say, what were they? Energized, scared, and relieved. There we go.
Yeah, they're good. I think that sums up what a lot of artists will feel when they're getting back into it, hopefully soon. Hopefully one day soon we'll be able to all get back into live shows and that kind of thing, because it's such...
I'm gonna be at gigs every night, I've decided, either playing one or at one.
I think that's a great idea, because that's my plan. As soon as it's safe again, like, schoolwork will be pushed to the side and I will be at those concerts every night. But so in terms of like upcoming music and upcoming tours, can you picture future touring plans once it's safe again? And can you, like, have you had any ideas for, you know, visuals or concepts you want to incorporate into that?
Yeah, I mean, I think all the shows I've done before coronavirus were always very intimate, and they were very much piano-based shows. And I think over the past year, I've had a chance to really look at myself as a live musician. And in the past, I've been in various bands where it's all been about the energy and all been about the noise. And I think now I'm kind of in a situation where I don't think I'd want to play shows by myself anymore. I'd want the musicians around me. And I think it's a case now where I just want to play to as many people in as many places as possible. So I think as far as touring goes, as soon as I can tour again, I'm just going to be hot on asking anyone I know, can I just support you? I know it might sound beggy, but to me, it's, if you can make one fan at a show, regardless of where it is or what the concept around it is, that is so important. That fan could literally travel the world with you, or they could spread your music to hundreds of people. So I think my plan post-COVID is literally just to get a band and just play as many shows as possible, and just really experience music and enjoy it, because that's the fun part. If you ask any musicians what the fun part is, they'll either say the studio or the touring. And to me, it's always when you've got these songs and you can just play them to everyone, it's just such a great experience that you can't really sum up in words. So all the shows all the time.
That's a great idea. And I think like you said, the idea of supporting like different artists as well, and that opportunity, it can be such a amazing way to get into, like you said, gain those 1 or 2 fans from each show who then actually go on to support you along the way. So I really like that, just kind of as many gigs as possible, and that just, yeah, I think that's great. And then I had the final question, well, 2 final questions. One in terms of kind of upcoming projects. Is there anything that you can hint at towards what we could maybe expect from you in the next however long?
Yeah, well, I mean, what I've done since November and before really is just really solidly write. And I think in the past, what I've done is I've written an amount of songs and I've taken to the studio and then I've released them. Yeah. And I think at the moment, I'm trying to do a lot more of the first one. I'm trying to be the best writer I can be, and make sure that the songs that I'm then bashing out the studio, the songs that are then being released, are better than what I've done before. And I don't think I'm not the kind of artist that would ever put out music that I think isn't better or isn't as good just for the sake of putting it out. So I'd say what I've been doing is writing a lot, but I've also been doing a bit of top lining for some dance artists, and that's basically where you just write a chorus, melody, and sing over the top. And that's been really fun because I love EDM dance music. I obviously when I go out and that kind of thing, or when I in the past, it's been the music I listen to. But I've never thought I was kind of the right musician for it. But I was approached by some great artists that obviously have some beats, and they're like, "Can you just try singing a melody over it?" And I was like, "Oh, I'll try it. Might not be the right thing, but it just felt really good." So I think just getting as much under my belt and as much as being as creative as I can right now, so I can then just throw it at the world when I'm allowed to. Exactly. That's basically what I've been doing.
And I think that's like getting to do that is such a different experience for you as well. So it probably, well, we might see little influences of it throughout upcoming music and that kind of thing.
And I think all musicians are constantly learning and are constantly everyone should always try new things. And I think getting ahead of yourself or overthinking, oh, I've been on TV or I've released this much music or I've got this many streams, is always the wrong way to look at it, because so many people are making music and so many people are doing the same thing. I think if you want to connect with people, you kind of have to offer the best you can do, rather than nothing under 100% is worth it, I don't think.
You know, I don't think anyone ever stops growing, so I think that's a really good point. And then my final question for you is just about, like, you kind of touched on it there now, but can you like give us an idea of where you picture the next 5 years, like where you picture yourself in 5 years' time?
5 years. I mean, I'd love to say in 5 years that I'm on some extremely long world tour and I've released a couple of albums. I think realistically, where I'd like to be is in a situation where I don't have to work a job and that music is my full-time thing. And I think a lot of people find that really, I've had a lot of people on Instagram and Twitter say to me, what's it like being a full-time musician recently? And I think it's really difficult and surprising to people when you say most musicians are not full-time musicians, and most people have to really balance work and that kind of thing. So I think I'd love in 5 years' time to be full-time comfortable musician and touring as much as possible and just doing what I'm doing now, constantly learning and just writing and having fun with it. Because I think although lockdown and coronavirus has been horrible in so many ways, it's really given me time and passion to almost catch up on writing and really realise why I love doing it, because you can get so distracted with the world or so distracted with how other people are doing. I've really tried to focus on what I like doing and what the music I like to make and what I want to put out. So I'd say just if I could have one thing in 5 years, it'd be to just continue loving what I'm doing, but just hopefully do it where I don't have to work a annoying job at the same time. I know, because I think that, like you said, it's one of the things that people just don't quite grasp the concept of, is the music industry can be so tough and so many people do have to balance the job and, you know, music on, and it's just, so I think that's a really good aim to be in 5 years' time, and hopefully by then tours and stuff will have happened aplenty and everything will be back to some kind of normality.
But
Fingers crossed.
thank you so much for your time today and for talking to me. It was really interesting to hear what you had to say.
Well, thank you for having me.
Of course,
Thank you
anytime. But thank you, I really do appreciate it, and I hope everything works out, and I can't wait to hear what you're working on and all of that.
Oh, I'm sure I'll throw it all on Instagram, but it won't be long till there's new music out there, I promise.
That's really exciting. Well, we can't wait, and I'll catch up to you soon, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
I'll see you soon.
Anytime. Bye.